In this video, I'll provide an overview of wireless networks. Now, wireless networks have become ubiquitous, and the total number of wireless devices today exceeds the total number of people on Earth. So first, let's try to understand the different components of a wireless network. First, there are the wireless hosts. These are laptops, smartphones, smartwatches that we all use. What do they typically do? They typically run a host of applications, and these devices can either be stationary or mobile. Now, a wireless device does not necessarily need to be moving around all the time. For example, if you're using your phone and you are actually sitting on a table while operating your phone, at that time your phone is stationary. Then you choose to walk around and surf the internet, at that time your phone becomes mobile. So it's important to note that the wireless and mobility are interconnected, and mobility is one of the most important factors for the growth of wireless networks. Wireless does not always mean mobility. The second component of a wireless network is the base station. And the base stations are typically connected to the wired network or the greater internet, and they are responsible for relaying packets between the wired network or the internet as we know it and the wireless host. Now, two examples of base stations that you guys are already familiar with are one, the Wi-Fi access point that you have at your home through which all the devices in your home usually connect to, and the other one is the cellular network which we use which we connect to using 4G or some technology like that. Now, the third important component of a wireless network is the wireless link. Now, the wireless link is typically only present in the last hop, and by that I mean only the link between your host, the wireless host, and the access point is wireless. The rest of the network is wired, so we have only wireless in the last hop. And what we will study in the next few lectures is what are the different technologies that go in a wireless that are used over a wireless link, for example, the different multiple access protocols and so on, and how a wired link and wireless link are typically different from each other. Now let's look at this slide gives you an overview of the different technologies that are present in the wireless world. So the 802.11 category that you can see, for example, 802.11n, A, B, G, so on and so forth. Those are typically the Wi-Fi. So currently we have 802.11ax that has come out. So that's the most recent Wi-Fi technology. And in this slide, one of the oldest Wi-Fi technologies that you can see is 802.11b. And as you can see, as we have progressed and technology has become superior, the data rate that we get using a particular technology has increased. For example, in 802.11n, the maximum data rate that you can receive is 200 megabits per second. Now, down below is 802.15. That is typically your Bluetooth technology. And as you know, if you've used Bluetooth, the data rate can be pretty slow, and the typical data rate that you get using Bluetooth is usually less than 1 megabit per second. Now, the other technologies that have been mentioned here are the cellular technology. So first we had 2G, where the data rates were excruciatingly slow. Then there was 2.5G. Then there was 3G, where the rate was around 4 megabits per second. Then we went on to 4G, which is around 10 megabits per second. And with 5G, this technology is going to improve and we are going to get faster data rates, which just means that we will be able to surf videos and play interactive games much more easily. Another thing to note in this slide is the different ranges that these different technologies have. As you have experienced, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth typically tend to have small ranges, and they're typically used outdoors. Somewhere between 10 and 30 meters is their range, while cellular networks are typically used outdoor and they have a long range. Now let's come back to another component of the wireless network and how we can actually operate a wireless network. A wireless network can either be operated in an infrastructure mode, which is what we have been talking about so far, in which there is a wired network which is typically connected to the internet, and then there are these different wireless devices which connect. Now, there is an important thing that has to be taken care of in this infrastructure mode is handoff. And it is very clear if you look at the circles at the bottom, where you see that there's a laptop that is moving from one cellular base station to another. So it is moving out of the communication range of the cellular base station on the left, and it's going into the range of the cellular base station on the right. And when this is happening, this has to happen seamlessly, and this is what is known as handoff. Now, another way in which a wireless network can be organized is in the ad hoc mode. In the ad hoc mode, there is no base station, and the nodes only transmit to other nodes which are within its link coverage range. Now, it's left up to the nodes how they organize themselves into a network and how they send packets from one node to the other. This might seem a little bit vague, and you might not understand what is the reason for having a network like this. Now, ad hoc networks are typically used in scenarios where the infrastructure has collapsed, or for example, there has been some disaster like a tsunami and there is no infrastructure left. In that kind of scenario, ad hoc networks are very useful, and they are used in carrying out rescue operations and for disaster management. So just to give you a final overview of the different kinds of wireless networks that exist today. So first we have these infrastructure-based networks, and they are single hop. The single hop ones that we are familiar with are mainly Wi-Fi. There was WiMAX, there's cellular, 4G, and so on, which helps you connect to the larger internet. There are also infrastructure-based multi-hop networks, which we don't commercially use. They are called mesh networks, where the host sends packet through a kind of bunch of wireless nodes to reach its destination. They are also used in a lot of disaster management scenarios as well as by the military. The other one is the case where there is no infrastructure. The particular example that we use in our day-to-day life are Bluetooth, where we have a bunch of devices that communicate with each other when there is no base station to regulate them. Now, if you have multi-hop ad hoc networks that are typically used are WANET networks, where you have groups of vehicles or buses which communicate with each other. A typical example of a WANET network is one in Seattle, where there is a Seattle bus network where the buses share information with each other. Another such network is a MANET, or a mobile ad hoc network, in which nodes communicate with each other wirelessly and using multiple hops, and there's no infrastructure present in that scenario as well, and that's typically used for disaster management scenarios. With this, I'll conclude the lecture. Thank you.